Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm reviewing Twisters, directed by Lee Isaac Chung, and it is a sequel reboot to the original Twister. I honestly don't know what type of Twister film this is. They don't really make it clear if this is a reboot or a sequel. In fact, there's really nothing in this film that relates to the original film or connects to it, other than it's about a bunch of people that are chasing tornadoes and they have a device named Dorothy. It stars Daisy Edgar Jones, Glen Powell, and Anthony Ramos. And 5 years after a traumatic experience with a tornado, Kate Cooper, played by Daisy Edgar Jones, decides to go back to Oklahoma to chase down more tornadoes and put the past behind her, and gets help with an old friend named Hobby, played by Ramos. They soon later run into Glen Powell's character, Tyler Owens, a popular social media star that likes to chase down tornadoes, and they all have to work together to survive a life-risking situation with a bunch of tornadoes. I was never a huge fan of the original Twister. I do think it's a fun movie. It does have some fun moments and some intense moments, and not so bad CGI for a movie that came out in the 90s. But I honestly don't think it's a great film, and I don't have any nostalgia for it. I only watched it once as a teenager, and again earlier this year for when this movie was coming out. And watching the film as an adult, I do think it's an enjoyable watch with some issues, like some cheesy and over-the-top moments and some unrealistic moments that obviously wouldn't happen in real life. But honestly, I wasn't interested in watching this film, even though it does have a talented cast and a talented director for a movie called Minari. Please watch that film if you haven't yet. It's really good. But I still wasn't interested in this film because I didn't have any nostalgia for the original Twister, and I don't think it's one of the best movies I've seen. And now that I've seen this film, I can at least say it's okay. I thought it was alright. It's one of those movies that's so ridiculous and can be stupid at times, but it knows it and just has some fun with it. First off, the acting is really good. I thought Daisy Edgar Jones was pretty good as Kate, and I haven't seen her in a lot of films. I have, however, seen her in the film called Fresh with Sebastian Stan, and I thought she was really good in that film. And it's nice seeing her again in a movie like this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else she does in the future. And I did think that she was really good here, and without giving anything away, her character has dealt with some serious trauma in the past that really affected her emotionally. Despite the fact that she's very passionate about trying to disrupt a tornado, she still has fear about tornadoes after what happened to her in the beginning of the film. So throughout this film, she has to learn to overcome her fear, and that part of the emotional core for the film I actually think is one of the better parts of this film, and I think it's one of the things that it did better than the original Twister. Then there's Glen Powell as Tyler Owens, a big social media star that chases down tornadoes with the help of his group while they go inside a tornado, drill down to the ground with their truck, and shoot fireworks above it. I'm not kidding, that's actually in this movie. It sounds unbelievable and very unrealistic, but that's what he does for the film, and Glen Powell does a pretty good job in this film, although his character is a little similar to his character from Top Gun Maverick, where he does start off as a show-off and he can be very reckless, except the one difference with him in this film is that he's really not so bad once you get to know him throughout the film, because when the cameras are off and he's just talking to Kate, he does seem like a nice normal guy when he's just trying to help her out. While there are still some very over-the-top moments, just like in the original film, there were some parts in this film that I thought were pretty intense, like one scene involving a few characters going in an empty pool while a tornado is just throwing cars and trucks around. When it comes to those intense moments and the characters reacting to those, they are definitely the highlights of the film. There are also times where characters explain a lot about tornadoes and what they're supposed to do when a tornado is around, and I'm not an expert on tornadoes, so I really don't know if this is real or not, but a lot of the stuff that they say about the tornadoes and what they can do with them feels really unrealistic to me. So if you're one of those people that gets annoyed by some unrealistic moments that happen throughout the film and you hate the fact that this doesn't go for some realistic stuff, then you are gonna hate this film. But if you don't mind the over-the-top and ridiculous stuff that happens and you just want to have a fun time, then I think you will have a great time with this film, because Twisters is one of those films where you just have to turn off your brain, lay back, and just eat popcorn while watching the film. Now, this isn't an amazing film. I do have some issues with it, and I will say there are some parts of the emotional core that are lacking a bit, like with Kate's backstory, and I get why that's supposed to be there. I get why that's supposed to be important without giving anything away. And the emotional core of the film does work for the most part. It's just that there are some parts of the emotional core that don't get fully explained. Like, for instance, there are some parts in the opening of the film that's supposed to start the emotional core, but there were some parts of it that felt rushed, and I would have liked if there was like a little more time with some parts of the backstory. That way it can get me more of that feeling with the emotional core. There are also some song choices in this film that I don't think needed to be there. They do kind of mess up the tone a bit. Like, there'll be a serious and emotional moment, and then it would get ruined by a song in the background. And I don't think it really needed to be in the film. It was very distracting. Then there's the CGI, which there are times where it does look pretty good, but most of the time you can really tell that it's CGI, and you can also tell that they look really fake. And this movie uses a lot of that, unfortunately, where the original film still used some CGI, but they also used some practical effects and some sets for those scenes. Where in this film, even though you can tell that they may have shot in real locations, they still feel like they use a lot of CGI and less practical stuff. And my last issue with the film is that there are some callbacks, nods, and character motivations that do feel like they're just copying off of the original Twister. Like, there'll be some characters in this film that feel similar to other characters from the original film, and some emotional moments that feel like they're from the original. Like, you can feel that at times, and I honestly just couldn't help but notice that issue. For me, Twisters is an alright movie, regardless if this is a remake or a sequel, or if it's just its own thing. It does have some issues, like character motivations and callbacks to the original film didn't really need to be there. They felt like they were copying off of that film. The CGI was very noticeable, and this movie uses it a lot, and there wasn't enough parts of the emotional core that it should have needed. It had some parts that felt rushed. That being said, you can still watch and enjoy Twisters for what it is, as a fun, dumb, laid-back, popcorn-eating disaster film. If you love the original Twister when that came out in the 90s, I do recommend giving this film a chance. It's not connected to the original film, but it still works as its own film. As for newcomers, if you decide to have this film be your first experience with the Twister story or films, you're not gonna get a whole lot. You're just gonna have a lot of mindless fun. I'm gonna give Twisters a C+. So guys, if you have seen Twisters, what did you think about it? Did you think it's a really fun disaster film, or do you think that this film sucked and it's not as good as the original? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.